Hi there, and welcome to Mr. Bell's Grammar Series, Volume 5, Conjunctions. For some of you, this will just be a quick review, and for others, it will help you establish a foundation in understanding what we're talking about when we move on to more complicated grammar ideas. It's important to remember, when we talk about grammar, we're trying to get a better understanding of how the English language is structured so we can better communicate with each other. In these early lessons, we're mostly focusing on basic definitions and functions, so we'll have consistent basis to build from as we move forward. So, to get a better understanding of conjunctions, let's get to work. In the last lesson, we took the basic elements of language and looked at how to combine them into building blocks of sentences, clauses. The sentences that can be formed from a single clause are fully functional, but there are ways to combine clauses into much more interesting and complex structures. The glue that holds these blocks together is the kind of word called a conjunction. Before we get started, let's quickly refresh some key points that we'll need to have in mind for this lesson to be useful. A clause is a group of words containing both a subject and a predicate functioning as part of a sentence. In order to be a clause and not a phrase, it must have both a subject and a predicate. A clause that can function on its own as a sentence is an independent clause. A clause that relies on more information to be complete is a dependent clause. In order to be a complete sentence, a clause must not be missing critical parts or information. To get started, there are three different types of conjunction: coordinating, subordinating, and correlative. We'll talk about each one in more detail next. A coordinating conjunction joins two parts of a sentence that have equal importance. We have been structuring this in terms of joining clauses, but this can be words, phrases, or clauses. Coordinating conjunctions are the most commonly used conjunctions in English. There are 7 coordinating conjunctions: for, and, nor, but, or, yet, so. You may remember them with the mnemonic fanboys. A mnemonic is a kind of memory trick that's designed to help you remember something. This is also where the compound object comes in from all the way back in an earlier lesson. The complex object is a series of words that all refer back to a simple object without any conjunctions involved. A compound object is one that includes a conjunction, usually and. Each one serves a different function. Take a look at the list below for more details on how the different conjunctions work in a sentence. Subordinating conjunctions are the reason that, when we were looking at clauses, the dependent clauses were also sometimes called subordinate clauses. A subordinating conjunction joins an independent clause and a dependent clause, hence subordinate. Now, there's no easy mnemonic or short list to memorize with subordinating conjunctions the way there is for coordinating conjunctions. So if you want to identify a subordinating conjunction, look at the relationship between the two clauses. If one of the clauses relies on the other to make sense, they are likely being joined with a subordinating conjunction. Take a look at the sentences below. The dependent clause is underlined, and the subordinating conjunction is underlined and in bold. The third and final kind of conjunction that we're going to look at is the correlative conjunction. A correlative conjunction joins two words or phrases that have a connection or a relationship to each other. It's another one of those right there in the word kind of things. Co means together, and relative means that they have a relationship. So the words, phrases, or clauses all have a relationship with each other. The important things to keep in mind with correlative conjunctions is that they always come in pairs, and, like coordinating conjunctions, can join words, phrases, or clauses. Take a look at the sentences below. I've underlined the correlative conjunction in each one. You may have noticed that there is some overlap with the coordinating conjunctions. Most of them show up on this list as well. The difference is that in a coordinating conjunction, the word shows up singly. whereas in a correlative conjunction, they show up in pairs. So whether you're indicating choice, or list, or some other kind of relationship between the elements in a clause or sentence, look at how your correlative conjunctions make that happen. So, to review, there are 3 types of conjunction that we looked at today. Depending on how specific your teacher wants to get, they can identify many more types, but for the most part, they're really just subcategories of these 3 main types. Coordinating conjunctions join 2 parts of a sentence that have equal importance. There is a discrete list of the coordinating conjunctions, but you can remember them with the mnemonic fanboys. They are for, and, nor, but, or, yet, so. Subordinating conjunctions join an independent clause and a dependent clause. There's no easy list to memorize, so instead you need to look at the relationship between the clauses to identify them. Finally, correlative conjunctions join words or phrases that have a relationship to each other. They always come in pairs and may have some overlap with coordinating conjunctions. Look for the relationship between the words and for the pairing to identify these. Having a good understanding of basic grammar functions will help you improve your ability to pull meaning from any text. When you get comfortable with seeing language as something with structure and learn how that structure works, you will see your learning grow. More important than being able to identify when others have used these kinds of conjunctions is understanding how they work to bring ideas together to make a more complete and complex sentence. Next lesson, we'll put everything we've learned together so far to create different and more complex kinds of sentences. Class dismissed.